And welcome to the public hearing for the Metro Nashville disparity study. Again, my name is Michelle Clark Jenkins. I had the consulting group of Griffin and Strong. So before we get started with the public hearing portion of this, many of you may not have been able to attend our informational meeting. So I'm going to do a really quick presentation of kind of what the study is again, and then invite just a few questions. And then once we get started with the public hearing, the purpose of the public hearing is really to hear from you. So after that point, I will stop taking questions and then begin to take your comments and your testimony. So if you bear with me for a minute, I will share my screen. Okay, so again, our firm is Griffin and Strong. We're an Atlanta-based law and public policy consulting firm. We've been doing this kind of work for about 30 years. We have a team of lawyers, economists, PhD in social psychology, a PhD in public policy, and a PhD in anthropology, all on part of our team to lend their expertise to these studies. Our CEO, Rodney Strong, who's the project executive, was the director of contract compliance for the city of Atlanta and was the project manager on the first post-Croson disparity study and was the principal architect of the city of Atlanta's MWB program, which really became the model for the nation. Our principal investigator, Dr. Vince Egan, is probably one of the few expert witnesses left in these kind of cases. He's conducted over 150 studies and successfully defended 7 studies as an expert witness. So I always like to start off by being very clear on what a disparity study is. It's an objective research tool that determines whether are disparities in a government agency's procurement activities of certain groups, and that such disparities are statistically significant and likely to be caused by the race and gender of the firm's majority owner. So the heart of a disparity study is really looking at availability of firms in the marketplace compared to their utilization. We do disparity studies because of this City of Richmond versus J.A. Croson case from 1989, which is really the first time the court ever equated remedial programs to remediate, past disparities or discrimination with malevolent discrimination itself. What it says is, well, both of them treat people differently. So in order to have any kind of race or gender-based programs, you have to first establish a factual predicate. In other words, you have to, in essence, prove the existence of these disparities with a certain methodology that's been driven by the courts. And it's dictated, all that we do is dictated by case law. And then after we do a disparity study, whatever our findings are, our remedies to remediate any race and gender discriminations have to be narrowly tailored to the finding of our study. It also requires that we look at first race and gender neutral remedies before we move on to race and gender conscious remedies. We don't have to exhaust them, but we have to seriously consider whether we believe that race and gender neutral elements will cure any disparities. And this is really our study process. It's why it takes at least a year for disparity studies to be done. Of course, there's a legal analysis since it's driven by the courts. We do a deep dive into the policies, Metro's policies. Again, we got to understand what they're doing so that at the end of this, we can make recommendations about how they can modify what they're doing if necessary. A lot of the time is spent collecting and cleaning data. Our first analysis really is to determine what's the geographic and product marketplace, like what are we studying? Where are the firms located? And that's an analysis all in itself based on where Metro's already spending at least 75% of its dollars in 5 distinct industry categories of construction, architecture and engineering, or construction-related professional services, other services, and goods. Once we've determined those parameters, then we look at where is Metro actually spending its dollars, both with primes and with subs. It's both. We also do a threshold analysis that looks at what level of contracting are they doing. Are they doing a lot of big contracts, which may indicate maybe we need to look at contract sizing? Are they doing a lot of smaller contracts where there are opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses and small businesses in general? We then look at the availability, which is, okay, here's who they're already spending their money with. Who are the other ready, willing, and able firms in the marketplace who could be providing those services? And then a disparity analysis, which is the heart of what we do, really compares the two. What's the difference? So if 10% of all the Hispanic American engineers are in the marketplace, are they getting 10% of the engineering dollars? So that kind of completes our disparity analysis of Metro spend, but then we also have to look at what's happening in the marketplace. Oh, let me go back to the disparity analysis. Once we determine there is a disparity, we then have to determine what was the likely cause of the disparity. So we do a regression analysis that looks at all the other potential reasons or causes for the disparity other than the race and gender of the owners. So we look at things like how long the firm's been in business, the size, the revenues, how many employees they have, the education of the owner, things like that, that could, equalize what the performance is. So once those are taken out, we look to see if there's still a disparity, and if there is, then we make what the Croson Court calls an inference of discrimination, which is the culmination of the current effects of past discrimination. Private sector analysis then looks at the whole marketplace. So what's going on in the marketplace? Because the courts have said, even if Metro spend is in line, but then we find that there are disparities in the marketplace as a whole, the government can in fact be a change agent for those private sector disparities. And then anecdotal evidence, which is why you all are here today. This is critical to us, and so I'm really happy that you all have joined us today, because once we see, assuming that we see a disparity, or if we don't see a disparity, the important part is what's going on? How do our businesses affected? What can you contribute? So if we see a disparity, that gives us a number. It doesn't tell us how to fix it. We rely on several sources to tell us how to make our recommendations. We look at the policy on the face itself. Is there anything that's on the policy itself that may be a barrier to women and minority-owned businesses? Our own institutional expertise doing this all around the country and seeing what kinds of programs work is also added in. But probably the most important element is what we hear from you about your experiences doing business, attempting to do business, or if you haven't even attempted to do business with Metro, we want to know why not. That's a wealth of information for us that tells us all the things that can contribute to Metro having a better procurement process. And we do that in a lot of ways. We're doing this public hearing. We've done interviews. We've done surveys. We take your comments. We're doing focus groups. So there are lots of different ways that we collect this information. And then finally, there'll be a report and recommendations. And again, the findings and recommendations, which are key, we look at race and gender neutral remedies, because sometimes we see that what affects minority and women-owned businesses may affect small businesses in general. So for small business, for example, remedies would be race and gender neutral. So here's really our timeline. of where we are. We expect to have our findings and recommendations completed and the report completed this summer. Okay, so if you want to get involved, you already are by being on this, but the survey of business owners is still open. And so you can go if you, oops, I'm sorry. You can go to this where it says survey of business owner. And also in your invitation to this meeting, there's also a link to the survey, and the survey is also linked on our website. You can email comments if there are things that you'd like to tell us one-on-one rather than in a full meeting. You can email your comments to nashvillestudy@gspclaw.com. You can participate if you're contacted to participate in a focus group, and also, of course, provide your testimony here today. So I am open to take a few questions before we go into the public hearing portion of this. If you would like to be recognized, you can raise your hand with the raise hand. You can wave at me. I don't think we have anybody on by phone. So I'll open the floor if anybody has a question before we move on. Great. Okay. So now we're going to move on to, so I'll stop taking questions, but we're moving on to the public hearing portion of this, where again, our goal is that we want to hear from you, your experiences doing business, attempting to do business, or if you haven't even attempted to do business with Metro Nashville, why not? This meeting is being recorded. When we report anything that you said in this meeting, it will not be using your name. We kind of give a code to it. However, the recording of this meeting will be posted on the website. We really ask if you do give testimony, please first recite your name and the name of your company. Of course, we ask everyone to be respectful to each other. Please try not to have your comments be hopefully no more than 5 minutes. Probably most of them be shorter than that. But if it goes too long, you'll see me kind of wave my hand and tell you, so we have time for as many people who want to comment as possible. I do want to recognize Janice Banks, who's on the call with us. Janice is our subcontractor, and she has been doing anecdotal interviews for us in Nashville. So I really do want to recognize her. If there are any other, I can't see if there are any other members of the Nashville team who'd like to be recognized. I'm happy to do that at this time.
Michelle?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Michelle, we also have Andrea Johnson and Tanisha Taylor with our team from Small Planet Works here.
Great. Thank you. Thank you all for attending as well. There may be members here who are in attendance, who are members of the staff at Metro. Please do not direct questions to them as well. They're here to listen as we are and to learn. This is really a listening session for us to really hear what's going on with you and what your experiences have been. So again, you can raise your hand with the raise hand function. You can wave at me. You can unmute. So we'll get started, and I'm not going to attempt at your first name. Hall. I see your last name is Hall. Okay.
Hi, how are you? I'm Vakisha Hall, co-owner with Petway Trucking Services. I've attempted to work with Metro several times. Being a first generation business owner, I know the website and everything, once you sign up, should be self-explanatory, but unfortunately, it's not. So my experience have been just confusing. Reaching out to see if there's classes to understand how to bid or how to even get our questions answered is not available. And then when you do reach someone at different trade shows or whatnot, talking about bidding, they're eager to help. But once you reach them like one-on-one, it's kind of like an off-putting situation when you're trying to find out information on how to actually go about bidding on different things.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for being the brave first person to give us your comments.
Okay. But I mean, I really, when I get on there and you kind of try to study the website, it's kind of, you have different people reaching out to you through Metro, offering you different things to bid on, but it's kind of like no point of even getting those emails if you don't even know where to start.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Hall. Anthony Davis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say,
I'm sorry. I don't know what
no problem. Just want to say, in my experience working with Metro, it has been truly a blessing. Having been and being an owner out here of a small business and being Black, it has not always been good in the private sector. You don't always get the same shake as you do with from other nationalities. We went through quite a situation down in 2016. And, I have to say that Javal Watson and her crew helped us to get on and get started. So Ms. Hall, if you would reach out to the people at the BAO and just let them work with you, they will be phenomenal in helping you as they did with us. And we have grown exponentially. There's still, of course, room to grow. We're looking to grow even more so. But also I must mirror Ms. Hall when she says, iSupplier has not been nice to us. We just have a fit trying to get through iSupplier. So fortunately, we just have been just putting in proposals to different contractors. We've got a number of clients now that will just reach out to us automatically. But that's all I want to say. Just want to say thank you for Metro and keeping up with everything, because they're helping to even the playing field out there for us.
Okay, when you say BAO, I'm sorry, this is Mrs. Hall. What exactly is that? And do you have like a contact number where we can actually reach out to find out about that program?
I'll ask someone to put it in the chat room. If there is someone here from Metro, if they can put that information in the chat room.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, I see Arlene Martin Norman. You're up next.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My company is called Healthier Future Consulting Services and Sales. And I'm delighted that Metro has a program in place, but I have to mirror Mrs. Hall comments. I've been trying to get a relationship or get assistance from BOA, the Minority Business Owners Office, since 2014. I have individual contact information, but you get the runaround. And it's really very frustrating. I'm a sole proprietor, do independent consulting for human resource management areas. And it's very frustrating trying to, because I am a sole proprietor, trying to get that subcontract. And when you reach out to those individuals, they either not answering the phones, they don't reply back to emails, or they send you to someone else and they send you to someone else. So it's a runaround. You're chasing a tail that you can never catch. And that's been my experience. I'm open to partnering with someone. I'm open to being teachable. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. I'm open to being teachable. I just need to know that there's someone in place that when you reach out, they're going to come back to you. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Ms. Martin Norman. Okay. Thought I saw someone else. Next up. Okay, I see Smith Engineering.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
We can.
Okay. Look, I'm Brian Smith. I'm with Smith Engineering. We've been a DBE, a TDOT registered certified DBE in the state of Tennessee since 2010. We've been on the governor's MBE list since, I don't know, maybe 2012. Long story short is we haven't seen anything out of the city of Nashville. We're one of probably 5 or 6 African-American firms that does transportation and traffic engineering in the state of Tennessee. And we haven't gotten any contacts or subcontracting opportunities, whether it be Gresham Smith, AECom, I can go down the list. And last I checked, and I'm just gonna step on some toes here because I just don't care. Last I checked, African Americans are graduating at a phenomenal rate from colleges like myself, from NC State, MIT, University of Kentucky, Georgia Tech, and the list goes on with degrees in engineering. I didn't know what the problem is, Nashville, basically statewide as well. And like I said, I'm not here to cater to anybody. I'm gonna put it on the table. I want to know why there's not any DBE participation percentages placed with pre-construction activities. I mean, there's no way that my company can compete in the state of Tennessee against AECom, Gresham Smith, and others when we have what we call parallel marketing. I do the same type jobs that they do. You know, they say, well, hey, look, Mr. Smith, you need to bring something to the table that we don't already have. Well, that's not my fault that I do transportation and you do transportation. So basically I get shunned out because you're a bigger company. You know, that's not fair to us. And at the same time, for decades, there's always been a DBE participation goal or DBE participation percentage set for construction. You can do the same thing for pre-construction. You know, other states do it. Georgia does it. So, you know, this is 2023. You know, let's start moving forward here. Let's start putting some goals and some percentages with design services, because that's the only way I'm going to get a call from a Gresham Smith or anybody else to assist. And oh, by the way, for those of you that don't know, Build Back Better requires 10 to 15% DBE participation. So we need to get off the stick and start doing what we're supposed to do. Let's bring in minorities. We can do the work. We just need a chance. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. All of our testimony so far has been really, really valuable. You all do not understand how important what you tell us is to the recommendations we're making. Mr. Is it Kasey?
You know, there's been a guy by the name of Hype Michael has had his hands up for about 2 terms. I don't know if you
Oh,
overlooked.
that's who I was just calling on.
Oh,
Right.
okay. All
Thank
right.
you, and I appreciate very much. And I wanted to say first, I'm a small company owner. I deal with specifications, meaning I supply materials. So I get it into architects and designers and developers ahead of everything. And I share with Mr. Smith's concept pretty much, because construction starts in the planning group. And if you don't have diversification in your planning group, you don't have diversification at all. The concept is that it has to be both brought in that plan room as to who would be participating in this project. So the people that come out of that planning room kind of set up a tunnel. That information is the most important thing in the construction industry. And the initial conversation should include diversification. And if those plan rooms do not include minorities, it's a very sad event. Now, The other thing is, when they go out of that planning room, the first selection would be either an architect or a designer or a developer. And that decision is one of those primary decisions. They're very effective, very essential to the whole process. And that is reflected in the specification. Who writes that specification? And if you are not represented in that specification, you're not there. So the initial stages behind the planning room door, the selection has already been made. And so all the minorities that come after the fact are begging to get involved. This percentage that's set up is a joke. If you look at your contractors, major contractors, they have a set of minorities that they have attached themselves to, and they have been operating under that umbrella for years. There is no change in that choice. There is no new person coming in to join that listing. So we have to look at really seriously about what diversification is really all about.
Yeah.
And I have dealt with projects nationwide. I don't want to mention my product, but it's in every project that you call commercial. But because the specification kind of eliminates minorities and does not even pay attention to suppliers, minority suppliers or minority manufacturers, and does not create minority or even put any budget for creating minorities to get involved in the initial stage and in the supply stage. These minorities that are involved are subcontractors and not major contractors at all. And these subcontractors are not even progressing to be general contractors. They don't have enough money. They're not sharing enough of the apple. So everything is happening in a stagnant circle. I apologize if I'm a little harsh, but that's the way it is.
Okay, thank you so much. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear candid testimony. Mr. Snipes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephen Snipes with EJO Ventures. We are a MBE, DBE, and ACDBE certified technology company based out of Nashville. Our primary customers are airports and large venues like stadiums and even higher education institutions like universities. We provide technical services, products, hardware, software, networking, advising, consulting, the full gambit of technical products and services. We've been minority certified for about 15 years. We've grown specifically in the last 4 or 5 years exponentially. I was the third employee at the company. We were just here in Nashville and had just won a contract in Memphis when I joined. Now we are DBE certified across 30 plus states. We are operating in over 10 airports nationwide, providing several systems like cell phone service, indoor Wi-Fi, internet access, wayfinding, smart displays, you name it, any of the systems that will be used inside of an airport or a large venue, we provide the technology support for those products and services. However, our biggest challenge to this point is slow pay. And I know that there are a number of things that are being done around the issue, even to go as far as to provide a discount for like quicker pay. But even with with Metro, it's supposed to be on a net 14 for small businesses and subcontractors, but that doesn't always happen. And even getting through the procurement process the first time, the procurement is different for each individual division within the Metro government. So that's a challenge within itself. If there was a central procurement type of thing that, was maybe technology based, that had a fail-safe mechanism there, that would be helpful. We love to be a part of that conversation and that discussion. Also, we do business in Georgia, and there is a company that allows suppliers to provide their own purchase order financing. So as soon as they get a contract from an entity, they can take that contract, that purchase order, go to this financial institution and get financing for the value of like up to 50% of the contract. And then that financial institution will get the rest of the money from the government entity or what have you. And they just charge a small percentage on the back end. I think I would love to see an option like that exist in the state of Tennessee. I'm happy to further discussion or do any research needed on that area. And thank you for your time. That's about all I have. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I do have a follow-up question for you. When you were talking about the challenges of slow pay and the differences in divisions, are you saying that depending on which department you put a payment through, that their process is different?
Their payment processing is different depending on which. So if you're doing Metro Action Commission versus Metro Schools versus Metro Parks, all three of those processes may be a little different. They're similar, but there are some differences between.
So our study, and I want to be clear for everyone who's on this call, our study is for Metro Nashville government itself. So the
general government.
Yeah, so the schools aren't part of this, but are you suggesting that even amongst all of the different
under general government? Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
There is a bit of difference. Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up. Okay, I do want to follow up with Mr. Smith. You put a comment in the chat room about the percentages. Are you, and I don't think when you gave us your testimony, you really talked about the percentages. So are you saying that when there is a goal placed on a project, there is an issue?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I always have to ask that because I was using Teams yesterday and had issues. Yeah, so what I'm looking at on these DBE participation goals, and again, I'm coming back to the goals on any of these projects, because any project that's federally funded requires you to put a DBE participation goal on it, regardless. It doesn't matter who the entity is. If you're receiving federal funds, it's a federal requirement. So to tell me that, well, hey, on this one, we're meeting 3 to 5% and we're doing it all in construction, I'm scratching my head when, if you do a FOIA act, you start finding out that they're not meeting their goals. So how is it that 1 second somebody's saying they're meeting it, but then the next minute they're not? The only thing I can figure out is that, contractors either pull some of the work back, or not all the work is awarded to that particular DBE contractor. But my thing is also kind of twofold with what I made that comment is that it's a joke. It's a joke in the fact that, for one, you're not even looking at putting any percentage goals on pre-construction activities. You would have 2 bites at the apple of meeting your DBE percentage goal or whatever percentage you wanted for that project if you did it on the front end and on the back end. But for some reason, and that beats and I'm just gonna say it, the hell out of me, nobody can seem to want to, nobody has the unction or the gumption to want to put it on pre-construction activities. Like I said, last time I checked, minority companies can do traffic counts, we can do surveying, we can do roadway design, you name it. But we're not being asked to come to the table on pre-construction. So I find it hard to believe that whether it be Nashville, Memphis, it doesn't matter who it is, you're meeting your DBE percentage goals when it comes to anything that's got federal funding behind it. Now, it's different, I'm sure, and I've been told this across the board from the state, if it's just strictly state funds or if it's just all city funds, you do what you want to with it. But when it's got federal money in it, if it's an 80-20, 90-10 match, I've been a transportation engineer for almost 30 years. I know the game. You got to meet some goals. You got to put some percentages down. So that's all I'm saying. So
All right,
Vertical.
thank you. I just wanted to get that.
that's all. I hope I answered the question.
You answered the question. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, next up, I see, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Hapta,
Oh, okay, Hapta.
I have a question there, and I have some experience in this, but I wanted to make sure if there is any procedure where you would check how much the person is sharing, the minority is sharing when he comes under a company, another company. How much of that apple is he sharing, or what percentage is he taking? Is it exactly what was assigned to him? How do you check that? Is there a way to, in as far as your studies, do you kind of go down and find out who got what in terms of the minorities? Are they getting what was indicated to them?
So, okay, I'm gonna break this rule for one rule, which is, as I told you, we're collecting information and not as opposed to giving out information. But yes, our study looks at actual payments, doesn't look at award. It looks at what people are actually paid.
Thank you. Because sometimes we're kind of begging to get the project, and then when we get anything, we're satisfied and we don't report back.
I have a question.
Okay, we're not. Do you want to hold it to the end? Because I'm not, again, we're trying to get your testimony. If I'm
okay.
answering questions, I'm not getting your
No,
information.
okay, I can hold it.
But at the end, I'll open it up when we're done with the public hearing. I will open it up again.
Yeah, I can hold it, sure.
I would also like to kind of speak on from the trucking industry. I know several people that's in the transportation industry here in Nashville, and would like to know, like, where are the numbers that we can see that was like actually gave out to people who are DBE registered and things like that? Because again, I'm surrounded by truckers, and it's very rare that I see anybody have a contract outside of 1 or 2 because of the bigger companies. So where do we see these numbers?
Okay, so I just want to clarify what you're saying is that you want to see transparency in terms of the actual who's being used on contracts.
That's correct.
Yes.
I thought we were holding off and give you time to go into your to keep moving.
Oh, we are, no. So we are in a public hearing phase right now. What that is I'm here to listen, and the question put before all of you is to tell me about your experiences doing business, attempting to do business, or if you haven't even attempted to do business, why not? So as for our disparity study, whatever the outcome of the study is, in order to know what we are going to recommend to Metro, we are asking for your input and your feedback on your experiences. So all the things that you're saying to me today, which is why I don't want to take up my time with me telling you things that we don't quite know yet, because we're still in the middle of the study, is what I want to do is hear your input, because this is what we're going to use to make recommendations. So there are a number of things I've heard today about where there are concerns about the process and about, I've heard transparency, I've heard payment. These are all things that we're going to use as part of our recommendations. And I can assure you that all the things that you tell us in one way or another, whether it's part of a quantification, whether it's actual, some kind of a quote, again, not using your name, but whether we use a quote that you said, whether it's the information, will appear in our reports in some way. So we're here to get your input, not for me to answer questions, but I will set aside times when the meeting is over if somebody has a question. Okay.
Well, in my case, I'm doing this for the first time, and I'm trying to avoid some of the pitfalls that I'm hearing that have hit the table just thus far. So I'm going to go to your site. I'm going to follow the procedure, and I guess I will get through it. Hopefully, because I'm setting up my company to do business there, which they directed me to do. So, yeah, I just want to make sure I just don't fall into some of the same situation and flow through.
Right.
That's all I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I would say
That's
listen
good.
in. I see Patricia Smith has her hand up.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. I confirmed in the chat that I agreed with Ms. Hall's initial comment. So is it worthwhile for me to say it out loud for the
Yes.
recording, or are you taking things from the chat box also?
It's actually really good for you to say things out loud because, you know, the chat room is a comment and I will save those comments, but much better if, even if you're being redundant, it's a good thing to even say your amens to other people so that we can, it helps us to quantify that more than one person feels that way.
Good. I am interested in learning how to use the system. I have a business, would like to promote it, just need to be taught how. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next up, I see T. Swint.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I must say I've tried to go, I'm sorry, I'm Terrence Swint, EITPS. We provide MEP design consulting service as well as staff augmentation. So I've attempted to go after work in Nashville Metro as well as the airport. And what I found is when I find out about a RFP or an RFQ, and there's an opportunity to come to a meeting to meet others that plan to go after the work, that they already have their teams.
Yes.
They may have a conversation with you, but when you follow up with them, you realize, okay, it's the same players. And sometimes you're told to talk to an individual that can help you navigate the system. And sometimes those individuals seem to already have their picks. So I'm just putting it out there so that you know that's happening as well.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. LaVonda Briley.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Oops. Ms. Briley, are you on 2 calls at the same time? Is that why we're getting feedback? Are you on twice? I think that's it. I see you're on twice, and if you're on twice, you're gonna get feedback. So if you can log out of one of them, then you can come back on. I see Mr. Smith has his hand up again.
Yes, ma'am. Can everybody hear me? Hear me? Ms.
Yes.
Jean? Okay. Look, something to add to this, and I'll just put this out as a good idea. And this is something that GDOT just recently did with almost all of their minority companies throughout the state. Is they held a DVE roundtable where all the DVEs came together and put together their wares and whatnot, so that all the different cities and counties and whatnot could see what DVEs are out there. This whole idea was put in place in order to eliminate the whole thing of, well, I don't know that there's any minority companies out there that do this. And so, and it also, they're allowed to bring in any prime firms, whether they're prime contractors such as ST Wooten or APAC or you know the list. So I just wanted to throw that out just as a general comment in general, because I haven't seen any type of roundtables or any type of gatherings or anything like that done by the city of Nashville. And that would be something that would be key, especially when you're involved in federal dollars, to show due diligence per se. Thank you.
Okay. Did you say TDOT?
GDOT. Can you hear me still? Or did I?
Yeah. Did you say T or G?
G, Georgia
Okay.
Department of Transportation.
Okay. All right.
They recently did this probably about back in December.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We have lots of you on, so I'm hoping I'll see some more hands up. Okay, Lavonda, hopefully, if you're on twice, we're gonna get feedback again, but I'm gonna call on you again and hopefully. Nope, we've got the feedback. Ms. Briley, I think it's because I see you on twice.
Mhm.
So if you're logged in twice, you're gonna get feedback unless you log out one of the things that you're logged into. That's why we're getting that feedback. Okay, Annie Allen?
Hi, again, this is Annie Allen. My company is iSeek Solutions. I'd like to say I've been fortunate in the sense that I have worked with Metro for many, many years as a subcontractor. And for the majority of those years, I had a really good experience. I've also had the opportunity to work as a prime, and that is because I think the department handled the agreement as a professional services agreement, and I didn't have to go through the RFP process. I'm not sure that process is still effective, but it would be great if it was, in a sense, for small projects, because that would give more small businesses an opportunity to work under professional services agreement and not have to deal with the burden of some of the RFPs and RFQs, because it's just overwhelming for a small business to answer some of those large RFPs and RFQs when there's only a piece of the work in that request that a small business is focused on. And so we're put in the position that we have to rely on the prime to choose us as a subcontractor, which, as has been said, there are a number of problems associated with that. So I won't repeat those. But as a subcontractor for some of the Metro projects, I think my biggest concern at this point is, as was stated earlier, the payment process. There is a breakdown somewhere. I'm not sure if it's with Metro paying the primes or if it's with the primes paying the small businesses. But I have been working with someone in the BAO and the supplier office who has been very responsive, I will say, to ensure that I can get payments, because I have gone for almost 5 months now without getting payments, which for a small business is absolutely ridiculous. And to the point that was made by the young man earlier, there are many banks and companies that will do factoring, but it is not in the best interest of a small business to have to pay interest for a line of credit, or to have to pay the fee for factoring because a prime is not paying. And so that is not an acceptable option for me. So I am just asking that the issue of payments be addressed. Everything that I've said before is to indicate that I have had a good experience with Metro, and I appreciate the policies and the processes that have been put in place. However, there needs to be some due diligence in the large prime processing arena so that small businesses are not put in a financial bind. Thank you.
So you're, just to follow up on that, your comment relates to getting paid as a sub.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I see Belinda Yoder.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
We are.
Hi, I'm Belinda Yoder and I'm with Contract Carpet Sales. And for 19 years have done quite a bit of business with Metro direct as well as through general contractors, and have had very positive experience on both ends of it. And oftentimes it gets monitored. I'm hearing where people are not getting paid by general contractors, but that is actually monitored, and we have to report when we are getting paid by general contractors on certain projects. And I don't know if that monitoring system is not still in existence, but many times I get emails wanting to know when I've been paid by the GC, as far as when they paid, when Metro has paid the GC. And I currently have had very few, if any, payment issues on a net 15 vendor. And we do, like one of the other guys mentioned, we do business with parks, we do business with general services, we do business with the convention center. And when I send those invoices through Metro payment systems, I also go the next step and send it to the buyer that bought from us, because payment system is going to send it back to the buyer initially anyway. So if I go ahead and include that in my email, I think it might be speeding up the process for payment. I don't know, but we are a net 15, and more often than not, we are getting that money on a net 15 term. So my experience with the BAO office and all the agencies that I have done business with and are doing business with in Metro has been very, very positive.
Yeah. And so you are talking about Metro Nashville government itself, the general government.
Yes, yes, as well as projects that I do that are Metro projects through general contractors. I actually do both.
As prime and sub.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. There's so many more of you that I'd like to hear from. Please don't just be a spectator. Please be a contributor. Because when this report comes out and we give recommendations, I don't want anyone to feel, well, gee, they should have recommended, or they should have talked about this or that. This is your opportunity to have that input. Rita Dancy.
Hi, my name is Rita Dancy, and I am the owner of Maryland Electric Company, based out of Kingston Springs. And I understand that there's a lot of issues, you know, with the computer system. I've experienced the same thing, and it is not an easy process at all. And getting somebody to return your call is near impossible. So that I can absolutely attest to. But I will say this, I worked on the soccer stadium from start to finish, and the process of getting registered as a DBE, WB, WOSB was amazing with Metro. I went to every outreach event. I met with every prime that was even being considered. I had to hustle and work really hard to get it. It was not anything handed to me, and there is no perfect person that you can show up to and expect them to provide you this golden ticket. You have to work for it. We had at some point 120 employees out there working, and I am, you know, not going to lie and say it wasn't a struggle. It was a struggle, but I do know that Metro Nashville and a nice young lady that's on the phone with us today made sure that all the subs were paid, and it didn't matter what tier sub you were. So I was a second tier sub, and she made sure that I was paid every month, just like I was supposed to. And if I wasn't, she was giving me a phone call and asking me why. There is a lot of concern and a lot of compassion there that I feel like is not being acknowledged. So if you have had the opportunity to work with them and go through the process, that's part of growing pain, is having that money extended and figuring out how to make your business work with it. You might have to find a partner or a mentor that will work with you, but you have to figure out how to get yourself to that next step a little bit on your own. It can't be everything else. These facilities are so huge, and they're trying to process so much paperwork, especially if you're a sub tier or a second level tier. Finding the way to get paid faster is damn near impossible.
And tell me again, the kind of company you have, your company again?
I'm an electrical contractor. So I do commercial electrical. I did data, audio, visual, fire alarm.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I do want to say, we do want to hear what's working, and as well as your concerns, but you know, I'm very thankful for things that are working well, or your experiences of them working well. I think, Annie Allen, do you have your hand up again?
Yes, I do. I want to applaud the process that is working for the person who spoke just before me and then the person before her. That is wonderful that, you know, your payments are being made on time. But what we're here to comment about as well is those things that are not working. Number one, I was not aware at all of this net 15 payments. And I don't know if that's just for primes or if that works for subs as well. And I'm pretty in tune with the training for our supplier with Nashville. So I was not aware of that at all. And I know that that is not what is in my contract with the prime. So I'm not sure that the prime is aware of that either, or there's not a process to ensure that the prime is treating their subs that way. But long story short, even if that was in the contract, again, as I said, it's been 5 months and I still am waiting on payments to come through. So again, I applaud those people that it's working well for, but there are a lot of us who it's not working well for, at least for me, not this time. And as I said, this is the first time in all the years I've worked with Metro that I've experienced this.
All right, thank you, Ms. Allen. Ms. Hall?
Oh, yes. I would like to know the lady that's on the call that's eager to help, like navigate the system and make sure like small businesses are getting paid. I would love to know her information so that I can reach out to her.
I would suggest you reach out to the BAO office. I don't know who that person is.
Okay, I know the lady who was speaking
Oh.
before. I actually just sent her a chat to her individual inbox just to see who she was speaking about, who, you know, who was eager to help her get paid and eager to help her through the process of working on subcontracting.
Okay, great. Okay, Anthony Davis.
I was just wanting to get clarification. I don't know who it was that said that they were getting paid within the net 15. If you could just put it in the chat where exactly you were sending your payments to, along with the prime or the contractor. And then you said it was a metro entity. If you would put that in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. I do concur that yes, getting paid by the prime sometimes is a slow process. And yes, it is true that you do go online when Metro submits you the questionnaire requesting if you got paid on time, but those normally don't come for several months after the job may have been started or even completed. So it's not something that happens immediately. I just finished 3 or 4 of those here in the past week, and it is not something that happens immediately. So, and I can, like I said, I concur. If we don't get paid within 30 days, waiting 60, 90 days or 6 months is just unfathomable. It's just not something that we can do as a small business.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next up. Hunter G.
Hi, yes, my name is Hunter G. I'm a principal with an architecture firm in Nashville, Smith G Studio. I would love to just invite Mr. Swint and Mr. Smith and Mr. Kasaye to reach out to me. You can find our contact information online, smithgstudio.com. And I don't disagree with their concerns. We are all in an industry that has a dearth of representation, terribly represented by the minority community, unfortunately. You know, one of the things I talked about in my interview was potentially not only focusing on ownership, but thinking about companies that hire, especially in certain industries that are underrepresented with ownership, but those companies that hire a large percentage of women and minorities could be another way to encourage those industries, as you mentioned, to be a change agent within the marketplace itself. So that would be something to consider, but I would certainly, again, encourage Mr. Swint and Mr. Smith and Mr. Kasaye to reach out to me. Smith G Studio. Again, my name is Hunter G. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. G. So Mr. G, let me just kind of, what you're saying is that we should also be looking at those companies, not just that have minority or women ownership, but look at whether a firm does or does not have minority and women representation in their staff.
Well, I mean, I have a self-serving reason for that, but frankly, we are trying to diversify our workforce deliberately to be more reflective of the community, and it's an industry-wide challenge. So we have to be very deliberate in finding candidates within our architecture and engineering industries. But it's those folks that ultimately could own their own business someday, that could have the opportunity to become an owner in our company, and that are getting the training in our industry that needs better minority representation. So, I think there's value in helping change the market here in Nashville and perhaps attracting more minorities that are educated in architecture, engineering, interior design to Nashville if there was an incentive for firms to be hiring more. So if that helps explain.
Got it. Okay.
Can you hear me now? This is LaVonda Brawley.
Yes.
Okay. Hello. So I am in the transportation aspect of the business. So we were looking to subcontract with several companies. We've bidded, we've reached out. You don't get any feedback from the prime. I don't know if they're not being held accountable. Who's foreseeing the DBE goals? Because as someone mentioned before, they have a certain set of people that they already used. If they use companies that have 20 trucks opposed to someone who has 3. And we can never get to that point if you don't get the opportunity. We can provide the same, we have the same trucks, we have the same credentials, we can provide the same service. We just don't have as many trucks, but we've collectively, as a group, came together in several of the small businesses in the trucking world to try to at least, work together to get a contract with one of the primes, still to be ignored. And I reached out to several of them. I've also reached out to the BOA. I reached out to the small business, and I'm still reaching, still going to the meetings, still trying. So if there is some way that the primes could be held accountable, I think that would give the small businesses more opportunity.
So when you say that they would be held accountable, tell me what you mean by accountable.
I mean, required, if that is required for them to have this percentage that they need to use as a small business. And just say if you've used one of the larger companies on Interstate 40 for the last 8 months, and a company bid it as well, we didn't get that opportunity. Well, why didn't we get the opportunity? It was just because we were smaller, or because we're not friends of yours, or we're not related to you. I think it's an industry that they're using. Okay, this company is a small business, but they've used them for 20 years and they're going to continue to use them and don't even reach out to the small business. So it's hard to network when that window is not open. You can reach out several times and you still get nothing back, which is very discouraging to the small business. And you continue to say, well, there's a goal that they have to meet. Well, I understand that goal that they have to meet, but they met that goal with this company for the last 8 jobs because they're the prime. And if you're in this industry, there's only about 6 primes who've already have the people that they use. They don't give you the opportunity, so you can never get anywhere.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, Ms. Riley. Hunter G, do you still have your hand up, or is that a new hand?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to take the hand down. I'll work on that. Thank you.
Got it. I took it down. Ms. Hall?
Yes, and also I want to piggyback on, I know a lady has said that, you have to get out here and you have to do the work. I'm pretty sure everybody on this call is willing to get out here and do the work. We just don't know where to start, where to go, who to, go in front of to give us this platform to get out here to promote ourselves. So I think Metro needs to be more open, or I know when COVID had happened, the classes that they did have was kind of shut down because of COVID, but I haven't heard anything else about how to be in front of these people, how to present what we have, in front of these people to do the work. I don't think I would be here if I wasn't willing to actually do the work in order to get in the door.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Can you hear me, Ms.
Yes.
Jenkins? Yeah, I want to touch on three things. Again, I want to thank everybody for speaking up because nobody's going to know anything unless you talk. On what Ms. Brinley had to say on the trucking, and this is just a general comment, Ms. Jenkins. This is not really necessarily a question, kind of just an idea to throw it out at the city. You know, there's a lot of people, I believe, on this session right now that do trucking. And obviously, we all know that everybody on this call understands that there is a lack of enough employees, whether it be city of Nashville, city of Memphis, it doesn't matter. So, you know, maybe an idea to throw out would be to do some type of on-call services for as-needed trucking for public works that could be addressed by DBE dump truck companies or whatnot. I'm just throwing something out because I understand a lot of the companies that do construction or do trucking are trying to get with the Archer Westerns of the world and those guys, but at the same time, you know, I'm not trying to downgrade anybody. If you've only got 2 or 3 trucks, you might be a better fit seeing if the city could do something. And I mean, I'm not saying that the city should. I mean, I'm just throwing this out as an idea to give more opportunity. Because everybody on a municipal level right now is totally understaffed. And I guarantee you, city of Nashville is totally understaffed in terms of public works. I bet my dollar on it. The other thing I want to put out is that in terms of DBE participation, I know every year I have to submit an audit report in to show that what my personal net worth is. I'm going to put out there that there definitely needs to be more scrutiny on personal net worth. Per federal law, your personal net worth is more than $1.32 million, you are no longer considered a DBE in any state. So if your personal net worth is more than that, that personal net worth is defined as your cars, your housing, your land, your business total, all of that, then you're no longer a DBE and you graduated from the program. The program's not meant for us to stay on it indefinitely. But for those of us that have not seen any work, we really need to really push hard for some audits, because I believe there's some people that are in the program that shouldn't be necessarily in the program. And I'm also seeing that as well in the engineering sector. So I'll put that out. I think that's it for me. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
So is your suggestion, because for municipal programs, the DBE program is a little different from municipal programs where there may be an SBE, which is subject to certain size standards, but for the minority and women-owned firms, there may not be. So are you suggesting that MWBEs also have a size standard?
I'm not sure what the size standard is for MWBE and whatnot. I know what it is on a federal level.
Okay.
That's what I go by. Everything I quote is federal.
Okay.
So Nashville gets a ton of federal dollars. If they're doing something on a road, chances are it's not with their own money, it's using federal money. Even if it's a 80-20, 90-10. They have to follow federal guidelines. And so when a minority company such as the young lady that does the trucking is not getting a chance to do trucking for, say, I don't know, you name it, whatever company is the prime, then we got to start scratching our head. But again, we can take this a step further and give this young lady and others that are on this call that do trucking an opportunity to possibly do ad hoc services for contract hauling for the city of Nashville. Because I guarantee you, like I said, there's not enough people within the City of Nashville Public Works doing all the work. Since COVID hit, this has been a chronic problem. Nobody's fully staffed. Nobody's fully staffed, but there's a ton of infrastructure money out there. There's no reason why this young lady should have to be begging to get dump truck work. We got more than enough work and hauler work out there for her, and more than enough engineering and design work as well. But certain companies, as we're seeing, are getting the bulk of the bulk line share of the work. But again, it's on the city. It's incumbent on the city to address this. Incumbent on the city to address this. So, that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I see Dottie Summerfield. Probably
It's-
messed up your name.
That's okay. It's Justy. And just a quick point of clarification on DBE, because I'm both a WBE and a DBE. The rules for the DBE are pretty simple. It's $1.32 million, the personal net worth of the owner, excluding the business and personal residence. So that includes a lot of us. And then as a WBE, and I think because I do a lot of work in Memphis, both with DBE work and WBE work for the city, the county, the airport, and some work in Nashville also.
And what is your work?
Staffing and consulting. So I just finished a 3-year federal project at the Memphis airport, and I'm working on other things. So it's my 3rd federal project. Again, we are at the mercy of the prime and the contract that we assign with the prime when we get paid. Most of us, if it's a federal project, it's 30 or 60 days after they get paid, but that is not your issue for this. I think an issue or a potential issue as a WBE, which most city and state governments like, our DBE we know for the Departments of Transportation. As a WBE, if someone is trying to be certified on the Nashville Metro site, WBE is not there. There's no listing for a WBE certified business. And I would love to understand, I know we're not supposed to ask questions, but where will the WBE certified businesses fall in this disparity study when it's done? I know you can't answer that, but if you went on today and tried to apply to become part of the Metro Nashville and get certified, when it comes to ask what your certification is, WBE is not there. So if they're not going to recognize WBEs, then what are the women-owned businesses supposed to do?
I was on mute. So you're saying that when you want to get certified as a WBE and you go to Metro's website, there is no place for you to get certified as a WBE?
No, if I am a certified WBE. So I go on the Metro site to log in and to set up as a vendor, or and it asks for all of the certifications, but WBE is not one of them.
Got it.
Right. It will ask for your federal DBE. And my assumption, because my DBE was issued by the Memphis and Shelby County Airport Authority, but it's across the state of Tennessee, and I can get certified, and my DBE is reciprocal where we want. But where would a WBE fall, and how do they begin to do business with Nashville Metro if there's no place for them to put that certification? You're excluding an enormous amount of women-owned businesses if that's what is going to happen.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's an important comment. Thank you so much. Okay, for those of you who have not spoken yet, we are coming down to the last 5 minutes of this hearing. Speak now.
I will speak again, and I appreciate the gentleman. This is Lavonda Brawley again. Not only do I have a trucking company, I'm also certified to transport patients. So I'm a non-medical transportation service. And those opportunities are limited as well with the larger companies. So we continue to say that there's room for small businesses and DBEs, and there's opportunity, but the DBEs are not getting those opportunities. You have to be on a larger platform in order to get opportunities, because the primes don't want to deal with someone who is just starting out or is not on that, $500,000 platform that they're on. So, we're still kind of getting looked down upon and not getting those opportunities. I've even seen where, like the gentleman said, that we shouldn't be begging for work. Well, we're begging, and they're bringing companies from other cities when we're natives of natives, and this program is supposed to be for Metro, and we're not getting any opportunities. It's not that we can't do it. It's not that we're not willing to do it. It's not that we're not ready. It's just that we're not given the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, back down to people who we have not heard from. We have a few more minutes. The people we have not heard I want to make some space for you. I'm going to pause here for a second. Is there anyone we have not heard from who wants to comment? This is kind of last chance here. Mr. Cassay, Hapday, I think you wanted to comment?
Yes, but I want to, can you hear me?
Yes.
I've written a lot about diversification and what I feel about diversification. And I would beg to ask to read two, 3, 4 lines on what I wanted to say here for the whole group. And if I sound a little negative, that's because I am.
Okay.
And I wrote this in response to O'Hare Airport diversification program.
Okay, so let me just pause there. We only have a few minutes less, and remember, this is about Metro.
Yes.
I can't do anything about O'Hare. But
I understand. I had dealt with the Metro in terms of the Nashville Airport, and so the reduction is somewhat applicable.
And remember, Metro Nashville Airport is not part of this study. I'm totally focused on the general government of Metro Nashville and Davidson County. So that's the only input we want here, because that's the only thing. Otherwise, I can't do anything with that information.
Okay, I can understand it, but this is a general statement on what I feel about diversification, and it's just approximately 8 lines.
Okay, and then I'm going to go to David Lockett, who we haven't heard from before. So go ahead.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. The whole program of diversifications seems to address parity based on sympathy and turn a blind eye to the real problem of equity, which is based on human decency. Parity is often guarded by connected individuals or networking experts with shady means and undeclared intentions, while equity deals with human integrity and fair allocation of capital to create successful individuals whose livelihood is positively influenced as a result of a responsive society. Diversification best intentions had been incapacitated by the system in which it was supposed to have flourished from lack of genuine care and real objective and sound procedure. Networking is the only means of operation when all fails. And as far as the present diversification is concerned, it is rather the only means of success. A friend of mine once said, the big guys had uncles to pull them out of the hole. We depend on equitable system of which we are short of. We are witnessing good intentions sabotaged by unqualified non-visionaries with repeated habits of motives. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Lockett?
Thank you. David Lockett, Camp STEM. We operate a system of nonprofit in-school camps at several universities in Davidson County, including Vanderbilt, Fisk University, Vol State, and several that are within the area.
And what's the name of the company again?
Camp, C-A-M-P, STEM. And our programs operate on nonprofit educational STEM programs. We partner with NASA, Microsoft, Apple, and Google. We grant funding and a bunch of different opportunities to expand reach for students that may not otherwise receive the opportunity to attend opportunities at these various universities. Thank you.
Have you had any experiences, Mr. Lockett, with doing business with Metro Nashville government?
I have. We've received a few grants through various entities through Metro Nashville government that we've been very successful in expanding our programs to include not only elementary and middle school students, but high school students as well.
Okay. And your experience was?
It was overall, it was very positive. This is the 10th year that we've operated the nonprofit, and it continues to grow. I encourage anyone with a nonprofit to, work with your county governments to look for funding that may assist in the overall mission and goals of what you're trying to accomplish. Always look for those community partners and ways to expand the scope and reach of what you're trying to do. So we've been very successful.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll let one more person who hasn't spoken before pop in. If you haven't said anything, we're actually a couple of minutes over, but I want to make sure everybody has had an opportunity to speak. I don't want anybody to leave this meeting saying, boy, I didn't have a chance to say anything. Okay.
Where is this going to go after this conversation?
Okay, so let me close the public hearing part of this first. Anybody who has a question, again, please make it a question for me. I can't answer questions about what Metro Nashville is doing. I can answer questions regarding this study. So I'm going to close now the public hearing. Thank you all for participating. Anyone who has a question for me is welcome to stay on, and I'm happy to answer those. So, okay, my first question was, where is the study going? So we're hired as a consultant. We finish our research. We make our findings and recommendations to Metro Nashville. We did the last study Metro Nashville did. So we make those, last time we actually presented to the council members. And then they decide whether they are going to accept our study and our recommendations. And then the staff, I'm assuming, will be charged, if they accept our recommendations, with implementing them. And the study, typically, we don't release the study. We hand the study into Metro Nashville, and then Metro Nashville is the one who releases it. And we expect that to be sometime late summer. Okay, any more questions? Okay, well, with that, I thank everyone for coming. I cannot tell you how important your input has been. This has been a great, I really wish those of you who did not speak, please send us your comments. If you want to do a one-on-one, Nashville study at gspclaw.com. I'm going to put it in here. Anybody who has any questions, further comments, feel free to email. We have a dedicated and confidential email address, nashvillestudy@gspclaw.com. Putting it in here again. And so we look forward to any more comments you have. We do have another, I think, couple of months before we'll be wrapping up the anecdotal collection. The website is NashvilleDisparityStudy.com. You can go there as well to get more information about our firm and about there's some FAQs there about the study itself. So again, thank you for joining us. I hope everyone stays safe and well, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
You're welcome.
I'm going to-